Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that Earth has somehow shrunk to half its current diameter. At first, the world might not seem very different. The oceans, continents, and cities are still here. But beneath your feet, everything has changed. A planet only half Earth's diameter would have just 1/8 of its volume. If its density stayed the same, its mass would also fall to 1/8. Most importantly, gravity would become much weaker, only about half of what we experience today. Suddenly, every movement would feel easier. You could jump much higher, carry heavy objects with little effort, and even simple activities like climbing stairs would require far less energy. It might sound like a dream, but weaker gravity would affect far more than just people. It would begin changing the atmosphere, the oceans, the weather, and eventually, every living thing on the planet. A smaller Earth wouldn't simply feel lighter. It would slowly become an entirely different world. The first thing you would notice is how light everything feels. Walking would almost feel like bouncing. Athletes could jump several times higher than they do today, and world records would be shattered overnight. Birds would fly with much less effort, while some animals that cannot fly today might eventually evolve the ability to glide or even take to the skies. But there would also be problems. Your muscles and bones evolved under Earth's current gravity. With less force pulling on them, they would gradually weaken unless you exercised constantly. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station already lose muscle and bone density in microgravity, even after only a few months. On a smaller Earth, humanity would face a milder version of that challenge every day. Over millions of years, evolution might favor taller, slimmer humans with lighter skeletons, perfectly adapted for a low-gravity world. Gravity doesn't only hold us to the ground. It also keeps our atmosphere from drifting into space. On a planet with much weaker gravity, gas molecules would escape much more easily. Over millions of years, Earth's atmosphere could slowly become thinner. Air pressure would decrease, making breathing more difficult, especially at high elevations. The sky itself might look darker during the day, because fewer air molecules would scatter sunlight. Weather would also change. Clouds could become smaller, storms weaker, and rainfall less predictable. Water would evaporate more easily, slowly transforming many regions into dry landscapes. A thinner atmosphere would also provide less protection from harmful radiation arriving from space. Earth might begin looking a little more like Mars than the blue world we know today. There would, however, be one enormous advantage. Leaving Earth would become dramatically easier. Today, rockets must reach about 11.2 kilometers per second to escape Earth's gravity. On a planet only half the size, the escape velocity would be much lower. Space launches would require far less fuel, making them cheaper and far more common. Humanity might build giant space stations, permanent lunar cities, and even colonies on Mars much sooner than in our own timeline. Industries could expand into space, mining asteroids and manufacturing enormous structures in orbit. Instead of looking up at space as an unreachable frontier, future generations might see it as simply the next place to live and work. If humans lived on this smaller Earth for millions of years, evolution would reshape us once again. Future humans might become much taller, thinner, and lighter because strong muscles would no longer be necessary. Birds and flying animals could become far more diverse than they are today, filling the skies with species impossible on modern Earth. Trees might grow taller than ever before, since gravity would place less stress on their trunks. Mountains could also rise much higher because their own weight would no longer cause them to collapse as easily. The strange part is that Earth would still orbit the same sun. It would still have familiar continents and oceans. Yet simply making the planet half its current size would slowly transform its atmosphere, its ecosystems, its civilizations, and even humanity itself. Once again, gravity would prove that it quietly controls almost every part of life on Earth.